I, or maybe even you, may be confused or a little upset with Ben Johnson's picks, but guess what? After further evaluation, I've noticed a few things with Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson in their game plan, and they're filling a lot of situations. But also, they're opening up a whole lot of other questions. Let's go ahead and check out that and more here on Mind on Bears.
Don't forget to smash that like button and follow Mind of Murdoch for more Mind on Bears news. Bear down.
Yo, what is good, everyone? I hope y'all been enjoying y'all selves out here, man. That draft was crazy, man. The biggest thing we have to do is we have to ask ourselves, what exactly is a draft, right? As you can see back here, got a little mock-up. What exactly is a draft? Well, a draft is where a lot of, you know, hope gets fitted with shoulder pads, and then fans' perspective and patience get tested in real time. So that's one of the biggest things here when you look at that draft here. Patience, patience, patience from a Bears fan's perspective. The why of the class. When I was looking at this class, I was just saying, hey, this class feels less like we're hunting for stars and we're more hunting for role players. We're trying to make sure that we get the depth and we're trusting our overall development. Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson have already worked on plenty of players like the Dexter, the Pickens, so on and so forth, different players like that that are actually foundational for the Bears that they feel. Austin Booker being one of them as well. And they're not wanting to give up on those prospects just yet. So it really looked like during this draft, Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson really just wanted to have that deep focus and just trust the guys that they have and really fix their system. The biggest message overall throughout the whole weekend was we're going to coach them better. So since they're going to coach the players better, then guess what? That's what we're looking forward to. We end up drafting a tight end, Sam Roush. So we got the Roush in the house. Get ready for that. Big Roush in the house. He's going to be there for a lot of our zone running, just in general running. He's going to be a player that you can keep on the field 24/7. Blocking help is going to be his thing. Old school trench type. He's gonna spice up a few things. He's not necessarily flashy at all. Nice height, extremely practical tight end. He's a guy that I seriously see the Bears using constantly over and over and over. And then if you have a team like us where we're going to run a lot more 13 personnel, we were one of the top 5 teams running 13 personnel, which is, you have your 3 tight end sets with 1 wide receiver out there. It tends to be a little bit more of a focus, than being something that is just a part of the game plan. It's a focus now. We're that type of team, which at first when I saw that pick, I know a lot of you fans out there, especially me, I'm a Cole Kmet guy. I'm a Cole Kmet guy until the day I die. I was sad, when I saw that pick at first. I'm like, no, we're giving up on Cole. But realistically, looking at the game plan, Roush isn't necessarily the best hands. He wasn't their school's, primary catcher or anything like that. So I'm just looking at him as a piece to kind of move in with Smythe. Since Smythe is moving out, we got the tight end moving in. And the Bears didn't pick a draft edge. I mean, they didn't draft a edge in this draft, and that just tells me that they believe in the answers in the house once again with Austin Booker. They're putting belief in that coaching staff, and it was really irking to me for them to just kind of go past certain players. I know I heard Ryan Poles himself saying a couple times. He said, "The way the board fell, the way the board fell, the way the board fell." What? I saw players took directly after our picks that were worth us picking. And one of the themes of this draft, how I personally felt anyway, when you're looking at the boards, right? Everyone has their own boards. Everyone has their own boards, which is their own opinions, right? The Chicago Bears, it seemed like we were always picking the 4th to 5th best of that position, other than our first pick, which was Dylan Thielemann, right? So other than him, it really seemed like, even with Roush, it seemed like we just kind of could have got others that were better. Defensive tackle position with Vandenberg, seems like we could have got others that were better. But Vandenberg is an extremely talented athlete, a guy that definitely a lot of people are saying, and I highly agree, should have got at least invited to the combine. He would have blew out a lot of those prospects when it came down to strength and certain drills. So he's an underhanded, out of nowhere, I should say, under the radar pick. That's what I meant to say. So that's definitely something. This is a transitional type of period right now. They drafted cleanup role players overall, and they're betting on last year's talent. So they're hoping that last year's talent follows through. This year, I really think this is going to be the scapegoat year for, not scapegoat, but we're going to use Dennis Allen as our main, it's your fault if we don't make it this year, that type of thing. So, and making it just means getting to the same point in one more game at least. I mean, of course, you want to go to the Super Bowl, you want to prevail, you want to get past that. But if we can get at least 14 games, that'd be amazing, especially with this squad. But it does look like we do have a lot of hole fillers, which is great. But this is some serious pressure on these guys. If this roster doesn't necessarily work out, it's going to be some questions, big time. And at the end of the day, I'm noticing a lot of people saying, trust the staff. Trust Ben Johnson. Trust what's there. I don't know, really. Right now, it's feeling a little bit like a pressure cooker based on the way the draft went, based on a couple of players that could have been drafted. But at the end of the day, each and every one of these players have talent. Each and every one of these kids are able to bring something to a team. And it depends on how they're used, if they're going to be great or not, right? A lot of people had Tyler Warren, as the number one tight end. Guess what? Colston Loveland. Big shout out to Colston Loveland. He was the better one of the two. And we all seen it. He was the more youthful one. He had a little bit more, bounce, and, he didn't have to be the main target either of his team. So there's going to be a lot of comparisons with this year and last year, and we're going to kind of see exactly what we get from there. But with Roush as a pick, I didn't see too much of an issue with it. And overall, I think the draft really showed us that they wanted to make sure that they shored up issues from last year. Drew Dahlman, a player that didn't necessarily, well, he wasn't able to stick around for long, right? We got Logan Jones. Logan Jones, nice pickup. He does exactly what Ben Johnson and them wanted him to do. He does his job. You need a guy that does his job in the trenches. And overall, somewhat of a leader, communicator between him and the quarterback. He needs to let Caleb know and the rest of the line kind of, know what to do at the same time so they can all be in sync. So that's going to be an interesting thing to see this offseason. The Chicago Bears are truly lining themselves up for one of those off seasons that we all kind of are going to look at and say, wow, put your bets in. There's already a lot of people taking the bet in on Chicago right now. Poe said he needed to address a lot of needs. Instead, he hit us with we have defense at home quote. So we got a lot of UDFAs, which is perfectly fine. So with the safety, big time wow position to get Dylan Thielman. No one saw him dropping. A lot of people saw him going to the Vikings. I myself saw him going to the Vikings or the Falcons. Neither one of those teams picked him up. Big time surprising. Nasty speed, 4.35. Something that we didn't necessarily see coming. He was one of those combine risers. At the end of the day, in the combine, you had Malachi Lawrence. You had him. You had... and one thing I will say on the side, even though this is for the Vikings, of course, but Caleb Banks truly shows that, hey, possibly he will be a player that means more than what they were trying to say about his injuries. You know what I'm saying? So you can't necessarily put him out there like that, especially given that he's looking better. But anyway, Caleb Banks was a player that I thought that Bears could potentially put their mind out there, but I know he has injuries, and we're not going to continue that injury streak of how we do with players. But anyway. And with him being a 4.35 speed and having that 41-inch vertical, it makes it that Thielman can fill in a lot of situations. He can be in the box. He can also just kind of be in the middle of the field how he was at Oregon to kind of utilize all his talent and do everything that he needs to that the Bears need from him and fill in that role that Brisker, sad to say, end up leaving us throughout this time with, in his tenure with the Chicago Bears. And with the tight end, I saw blocking value. Big blocking value. Blue-collar guy. At the end of the day, I can see him out there every single down, as I've said before. But guess what? This is the biggest and kind of the worst thing about Sam Roush right now. Roush has extremely small arms. His small arms are becoming not an issue, but kind of a thing to say, like, man, if he had, let's say, just a few more inches in his arms, right? he could be one of the best. Seriously, one of the best, especially when it comes down to blocking. But we're going to have to see exactly how Ben Johnson chooses to utilize him within the game. Then we're moving on to the wide receiver, Xavier Thomas, returner. Big time returner opportunity. We had Devin Dumouriez, whatever. He's not on the team, so I'm not trying to disrespect him, but whatever. So yeah, we had him on the team. He's useful chess piece, big time. I see him utilizing his speed, really being able to get us better field position. At the end of the day, field position matters. And this was kind of one of those drafts where we drafted players for everyone else. How should I say? Not everyone else. Every single part of the team got a piece. Special teams got a couple pieces. Offense got a couple pieces. And defense got a couple pieces. You see what I'm saying? So we kind of built a little bit, filled in holes from everywhere with this draft, especially having that return in Zion. But I will say this, Xavier, but I will say this when it comes down to Xavier. When we were picking Xavier, I was like, wait a minute. We could have got Barry Brown, his LSU teammate, that I personally thought was better. Just saying. But at the end of the day, guess what? Now we're going to be able to see. Now we're going to see exactly what happens. We're going to see if Xavier, Barryon, whoever works out for us or not. But I'm not going to really pay attention to Barry and Brown, but you get what I'm saying. Like, we picked one, we're going to ride with that. Me, I'm a Bears fan that, once we have the player on our team, period, point blank, I'm with you, ride or die. Beforehand, hey, I might have been questioning some things, but once you're a Bear, period, point blank, I got your back. We can get into a fight with some people outside, that type of thing. Anyway, moving on to the center, Jones. It might have been a reach. I thought it was a reach, possibly. I did see Connor Lew at that time that was available. Sam Hetch, I think, might have been available at that time as well. But the Bears wanted to go with their guy in Logan. So I'm going to go with him. The game plan works out. And when it comes down to him and Drew Dahlman as a comparison, they're damn near the same person with the same size. It's just this guy has longer arms. So kind of works out with Caleb. He doesn't see too much of a different figure in front of him. The height isn't too much of a difference. It doesn't cut off things for him. It works out for him, just in my personal perspective. So it's going to be nice to see him replace Dahlman and kind of move into things. But right now, it's going to be a Bradbury role. And Bradbury might actually be the piece that we needed to fill in that role as long as he actually fills it in properly and does his job, right? Because as he can see, we just drafted a guy that can easily take over your position, Bradbury. So hopefully he fixes and does everything that he needs to so that, situations like New England where you usually don't let your offensive linemen go, right? Let's just say that, right? Especially young offensive linemen. You don't let them go. You pay them and that's it. So the fact that he was able to leave the building tells you a little bit. Just saying. Moving on to the cornerback. Muhammad. More competition in the room, big time. More competition in the room. Hopefully, insurance if injuries hit at the end of the day. Overall, he stayed a compact size because he's a track student. He's a track guy. But guess what? Football is going to be football. He's going to add some weight to himself. I see him, Kyler Gordon, and possibly Stevenson having a nice little rotation in the slots, moving around, kind of watching people. And then overall, just having good coverage with tackles. We need better tackling on this Bears team. And that's one thing that I see them getting from a few of these players. But overall, it just needs to be technique. So as Brian Poles said before, technique will be the overall thing that we think of and we pay attention to. Moving on to the linebacker in Elliott. He's a special teams guy. That's where I said we got a couple picks with special teams energy. Special teams. Hopefully, it works more where he's a lunch pail type vibes. A guy you could just put in there in every single position. He'll do his job and, get right back off the field. And, that's about it. So that'll definitely work out. And moving on to our last pick of the draft with Jordan Vanderberg. Jordan Vanderberg, very interesting. This may have annoyed fans at first because we had to wait so long for defensive tackle, but I know we were very, very happy to see exactly who he was when we noticed who he was. We looked at his draft profile, and we were just very excited to see that he was still available and to see that he can compete with this current defensive tackle room and kind of make them either shut up or put up or shut up, I should say. I'm looking forward to that. Big body, clogs the lanes, and he can hold the line of scrimmage big time. I've noticed that he's able to penetrate the line at a lot of critical moments with his team. But overall, the reason why he hasn't really risen too much for people, I think, is because of the school he was with. If he was in a better conference, he would have been able to show that he was, more than what they were able to put out there. And also, when it comes down to that big guy, Vanderberg is one of those, what I've noticed, he's got a motor, like a drive. That dude right there truly wants to get to the quarterback or just get to the ball. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what that steal right there at the bottom of the rounds really might have worked out for us. It really looks like Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson had their thoughts on their big board and they were not leaving that. And once certain players left that, they weren't adding any other players. They were just taking players off of their board and just, all right, let's get this, let's get this, let's get this, let's get this. And we're going to have to see how that goes with that. And moving along to the UDFAs, one of the biggest ones that we're all going to talk about right now is Caden. Oh, man, oh, man. Caden, huge frame, 6'5", 302. More line help, always welcome. Right now, a lot of people are saying the issues between the Chicago Bears is the offensive line. I don't see it being the offensive line. The offensive line can't be the issue. It can't be the issue anymore because look at the way that Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson are talking to us when they're talking about that offensive line, when they're talking about Ozzie Trapillo. Pay attention to how Ozzie Trapillo has been in the offseason. He looks a little bit healthier, so it looks like he could possibly get right back over there and do what he needs to. Luke Newman and I forgot his name right now. Luke Newman and McFadden. They're going to have a lot of competition when it comes down to it. And I think at the end of the day, Caden might be one of those players to definitely take over that role or just make certain players slide over and so on and so forth. So, like I said, the Bears are truly making sure they're building the trenches for long-time growth, but also by grabbing those players that no one really paid too much attention to. We paid attention to Caden when he was making highlights beforehand, and then guess what? Once the YouTube, slowed down and people weren't paying too much attention, then draft came around, we grabbed him because no one really paid attention after that fact. Sad to say, he didn't have that much of a productive season past that point, his school, I should say. But great pickup by the Bears. Running back in Coleman, 7 touchdowns, under 1,000 yards for his, career at that time for the last 2 years. Passing game juice, big time passing game juice. He has some good hands. I've seen him able to really capture the ball and in stride and just go. That's what you're looking for. In stride and go, not catch, wait, go, not catch, wait, go. And I've noticed that a little bit from DeAndre Swift and Calvin guy every now and then. It's kind of that catch, hesitate, and then go. You need that fluent transition. So Coleman might have been an actual true juice to the pass rushing game, and he has that breakaway speed. I've seen a lot of his highlights, and just in general, when you're looking at his tape, you see where if he has a hole, if he sees something, if he's running between the tackles, it's extremely, extremely tactical for him to start hitting that next level, as in of speed. And sometimes it gets him into a bad spot. So we're going to have to see exactly how that goes, especially given Eric Bieniemy isn't here as our running backs coach anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly what the Bears do with him. And also another steal the Bears might have also gotten in the draft. Well, after the draft, I should say. Skylar Thomas, safety. Willing hitter, big-time hitter, tone setter potential. He's a guy that's able to bring a little bit more fire and energy. You know how we were feeling back in the day with Mike Brown and certain players that made you feel like football was football, even though all he did was hit the guy. All he did was hit him, and there's still more downs and stuff like that. Just when he hits me, like, ooh, you feel that? Ah! That's what he kind of gave me watching his highlights. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how to use Thomas, Coleman, and Elliott. I'm expecting to see a lot of those guys in the special teams at the end of the day. So it's not going to be necessarily a big thing for us as Chicago Bears fans to see. The Bears gave up a lot of yards last year, and we need to fix that big time. My final thoughts on this is it wasn't a sexy draft whatsoever. It's more of a toolbox draft, right? It kind of, if the coaches develop the players, then it looks smart, right? If not, then I would say about week 3, week 4, we're all going to have questions. We're all going to wonder why they did this, why they did that. But guess what? there's a lot more to come. The Bears will sign a lot more players. I hope you all are looking forward to them signing more players. And if you haven't already, definitely make sure you subscribe to the channel. Look forward to more of this. I'll be live on my Twitch channel, and that'll be on, well, Twitch, of course, and that'll be Mind of Murdoch if you would like to check me out on there. Yeah, see you guys next week. It's been that dude, the one only Mind of Murdoch, signing out. Mom, gang, bear down.
Don't forget to smash that like button and follow Mind of Murdoch for more Mind on Bears news. Bear down.